Good day, Team Campo, and thanks for joining me today for the Fall Team Safety Meeting Defensive Driving portion. It's been a very busy year so far, but we're off to a great start. Now, you may have heard me on the two-way radio as a spare driver. That being said, I would like to thank the drivers that have handed in their handwrittens and request that if the other drivers that haven't could get their handwrittens done for the spare drivers, that would be awesome. There are instructions in your driver binders, or I can email a template to you. Please just let me know. All right, let's get started with our video presentation. I'd like to share my screen with our PowerPoint. And we'll start the slideshow here. Oops, let's go right to the front there. Okay. All right. So, hello, fall. Welcome to our Fall Team Safety Meeting 2021. From our Startup Team Safety Meeting, great job to first place was Val. Second was Pat, Richard, Sylvia, Diane, Bant, Gertrude, Anne-Marie, Terry Ivy, Lorraine, Don, Charles, and Terry Sofa. And third place was Barbara, Pete, Dee, Stu, Jim, Brenda, Susan, Paul, Jack, John W., and Joanne. All right, for our defensive driving training, we're going to be looking at pre-en route and post-trip inspections, defect reporting, daily inspection report, student management, and fall driving. All right, for the pre-en route and post-trip inspections, performing a vehicle inspection is pretty straightforward. The key is to be consistent and thorough. It's critical that vehicle inspections be completed every day before, during, and after your route. Not only is this an MTO requirement and a legal liability if you don't, but buses get a lot of wear and tear on them, and you don't want to be caught in a broken down bus with a load of school children. All right, there's going to be some reading information. We're going to watch a video here, and then there's going to be a short quiz afterwards. Okay, that's the reading information there. All right, so I just got to go to the video now.
Winning a race is a great feeling. Success is a great feeling. Who doesn't love the feeling of satisfaction that you get at the end of a good day's work? If you ask any successful person, any champion, anyone.
Okay, sorry guys, I don't know what's going on here. Oh my goodness. All right, guys, here we'll start this video over again.
Winning a race is a great feeling. Success is a great feeling. Who doesn't love the feeling of satisfaction that you get at the end of a good day's work? If you ask any successful person, any champion, anyone who's good at what they do, they'll tell you that a great finish depends on a great start. In order to get off to a good start, you need to be well prepared. And that includes making sure that the equipment you use is in good working order. Every professional inspects their equipment to find problems before they begin work. Discovering a problem once work begins could be costly or even disastrous. Your school bus is made of complex mechanical and electrical systems. That means lots of moving parts and lots of potential problems. Now, the maintenance crew is responsible for keeping the bus running smoothly, but they're not psychic, and they can't fix problems that they don't know about. That's why drivers are responsible for conducting thorough pre-trip inspections before leaving the yard each day, and the post-trip inspection at the end of each day. They're an important part of doing our jobs safely.
All right, that was the first part. And we'll go on to the second part. All right, guys, sorry about that. Just having a little glitch here. Let me get this video back up here for you.
Pre-trip inspections are important for two major reasons: safety and efficiency. If you leave the yard in a bus that has a safety problem, you're putting yourself, your passengers, and everyone else on the road with you in grave danger. It's unacceptable. Pre-trip inspections allow you to identify these types of safety problems and have them addressed before you hit the road. The second reason is efficiency. Our passengers depend on us to pick them up and get them to school on time. That's a lot of responsibility, and that means maintaining a tight and efficient schedule. Any breakdowns you experience while on the road can throw your schedule into chaos, which may make you late for your runs, or even worse, stranded with a busload of students. Performing a proper pre-trip inspection can help with breakdowns and keep you on schedule. Bottom line, the pre-trip inspection is your first line of defense against problems and an important task that you perform every day. So what makes for a good pre-trip inspection? Let's find out from an experienced driver. Joining me now is Mary. Mary's been a school bus driver for quite a few years now, and she's going to pass along some of what she's learned. So Mary, how do you make sure that you're performing a good pre-trip inspection?
Well, Sean, a school bus is a complicated piece of machinery. There are a lot of different systems and parts that work together to make a bus run smoothly and safely. And a problem with any one of them could put a bus out of service, or worse, cause damages and injuries for you or other drivers and pedestrians on the street. You want to make sure you inspect as many of those parts as possible. And in order to do that, you have to take a methodical approach to inspecting the bus.
What do you mean by methodical?
I mean, you need to use the same organized approach every time you inspect the bus. And you need to take careful notes on your inspection, on your vehicle inspection checklist.
I'm glad you mentioned the vehicle inspection checklist. It's like a medical chart for your bus. It's where you know problems that you find during the inspection and where you'll keep track of whether or not those problems have been addressed.
That's right, Sean. The vehicle inspection checklist is the best tool that operators have for communicating problems to the maintenance crew. And the guys in the shop depend on the vehicle inspection checklist to keep track of the condition of the buses.
You talked about using a methodical approach to inspecting a bus. How do you do that?
Again, the key is to do the inspection the same way every time. That way, it becomes habit for you. You should follow a 6-step method. Step 1 is the overview. Step 1 starts as you approach the bus. Keep your eyes open and notice the general condition of the bus. Is the bus leaning to one side? Do you see signs of oil or coolant leaks on the ground under the bus? If so, make a note on your vehicle inspection checklist. Next, you'll want to review the previous day's vehicle inspection checklist to make sure that any issues from the last inspection have been addressed. Step 2, check the engine compartment. This is where you'll check to make sure that the engine has all of its key fluids, like oil, power steering fluids, and washer fluids. It's important to check the fluid levels before starting the engine. Starting an engine that is low on oil can do some serious damage. Take a look at the belts and visible wiring and note any obvious problems. You'll want to take a look at the battery too, just to make sure that the terminal connections are secure and that there's no corrosion.
Now, normally, we'd be checking off all of these items on our vehicle inspection checklist. Right now, We're just giving you an overview of the process. Don't worry, you'll get plenty of opportunities to do hands-on, thorough pre-trip inspections as you continue your training.
Step 3, start the engine. With the engine running, you can inspect your dash gauges and lights. You can also check your basic operator controls, like the steering wheel and pedals. Make sure that the front door opens and closes smoothly.
Mary, when you check the controls and pedals, what types of things are you looking for there?
Well, before you do any of those checks, you need to make sure that the parking brake is set. Then move the gear shift between neutral and drive to make sure it moves the way it should. Again, make sure that the parking brake is set so that you can safely press the accelerator pedal to make sure it's not loose, sticky, or damaged.
What about the steering wheel?
You don't want to have too much play or extra movement there. When you move it back and forth, you shouldn't be able to move it more than about 10 degrees in either direction. It sounds obvious, but it's also a requirement that you honk the horn to make sure it works too. It's one of the most important safety features on the bus.
And I'm guessing while you're in the driver's seat, it's a good time to check windows and mirrors, right?
Exactly. Make sure that they're clean and adjusted to give you the best possible view around the bus. Step 4. Here you'll walk around the body of the bus, starting with the left front side, working your way around the rear of the bus and back up the right front side, inspecting each specific element listed on your vehicle inspection checklist, including the bus's wheels, tires, and suspension. If your bus is equipped with an auto light cycle, activate it and check your headlights, marker lights, brake lights, reds, ambers, and turn signals.
Now, the wheel and tire check is pretty important, right?
Absolutely. There's a lot that goes into it. So let's go into a little detail here. You want to look at the wheels, starting with the rims. You don't want to see any cracks, dents, or holes on the rim. Keep an eye out for rust. That's a sign that the rim might be loose on the wheel. You also want to make sure that the lug nuts are tight and that there are no cracks and no rust around the nuts or bolts.
And with the tires, you're checking the tread depth and the proper inflation, right?
That's right. As you go around, use a pressure gauge or visually check that each tire appears equally inflated. Some drivers use a tire iron to test inflation. And with some experience, they can tell from the bounce how well the tire is inflated. Also, take a look at the treads. You want to make sure that there's at least 1/8 of an inch of tread depth. You also need to look to see that the treads are worn evenly and that there's no damage to the sidewalls, valve caps, or stems.
Now that 1/8 tread depth, that's for the front tires. What about the rear tires?
Oh, yeah. On the rear tires, you need about half of that, or 1/16 of an inch.
So let's see. The first 4 steps have a lot to do with the mechanical workings of the bus. What does step 5 involve?
Step 5 is when you check the passenger compartment to make sure it's safe and comfortable for the children. You'll want to check that the seats are clean and secure. Make sure the floor and windows are clean and that there's nothing that could cause a student to slip or trip.
Yeah, kids can be pretty messy sometimes, especially after a field trip. How important is the cleanliness of the bus really?
It's very important, Sean. It shows our students that we care and that we want them to have a pleasant and safe ride. And although no study has officially been done, a lot of experienced drivers believe that students riding on a clean, well-kept bus behave better than students riding in a dirty or neglected bus.
Well, that makes sense. Okay, so at this point, you've checked out most of the bus's parts by starting in the cab and working your way around the bus, carefully noting any problems that you find on your vehicle inspection checklist. So what's the 6th step?
Well, Sean, for the last very important step, we'll return to the cab to check the bus's brake system. Now, there's a detailed process for checking the brake system, and it's explained in the program called Check Your Brakes. You'll also go over brake tests with your trainer during your hands-on pre-trip practice.
All right, so we're gonna have a new share here. Back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so that's what the pre and post trip inspection, the quiz looks like. Okay, these are full size. All right, so think, do it the safe way, do it the right way, do it every day. All right, defect reporting and daily inspection report. As a professional school bus driver, you're required to know and identify the components of the buses found in the Highway Traffic Act and in Schedules 5 and or 6. That's the regulation of 199/07. In addition to knowing and identifying the various components, you must be capable of identifying those components that have a major or minor defect. If your inspection turns up a major defect or safety concern, report it right away. Never leave the yard with a bus that may be unsafe. Better safe than sorry is especially true when you think about who you are transporting every day. All right, there's the defensive driving training quiz. Okay, there is going to be some reading information with that as well. You can answer the questions. All right, so on to student management. All right, there are danger zones around the bus. So you can see the red areas that are most dangerous. All right, and then the orange areas around the bus are danger zones. All right, and then the walking area. All right, so like I said, well, before there's going to be some reading information on student management, and we're going to watch the danger zones training video, and then there's a short quiz. All right, so that's the danger zones information sheet there. Okay, so go back to the videos here. Sorry, that's not the right one. Trying to find the right one here.
You there, over here. Yes, you here. Inspector Brake here from Scotland Yard. As you can tell from where I'm standing, the operator of this bus cannot see me, neither from his side mirrors nor his passenger mirror, not even his direct line of sight. We are in a danger zone. And as a professional school bus driver, you need to be aware of where they are and what to do about them. Can you imagine if I were a small child and the bus suddenly began to back up? The results could be catastrophic. That's why it's so important to pay attention to this program. Everything we're going to discuss is important for your safety and the safety of your passengers. Let's move on, shall we? Well, I'm a little shaken, but not stirred, especially when it comes to my determination to help make you a safe and responsible driver. After all, you're the professional driver, And you not only have to safely transport children to and from school, but you're also responsible to safely share the road with other drivers who haven't had any professional driver training. You're responsible for the safety of any pedestrians who happen to be near your bus. And finally, you're responsible for the school bus itself. In my capacity as a brake inspector, I'm often probing around inside a danger zone, so I'm keenly aware of how important they are. Understanding danger zones and the risks associated with children getting on and off the bus is vital to your role as a professional school bus driver. During this safety course, we'll discuss the danger zones around your bus and how and why children get into them and what you can do to prevent that from happening. Finally, we'll explore many of the dangers associated with picking up and dropping off the children. Preventing danger zone accidents comes down to 3 actions on your part. Count the kids away, know where they are, and clear your mirrors before you move. In fact, these 3 steps can save lives. Danger zones are areas around your bus that are particularly dangerous and prone to accidents, the worst kind of accidents. Accidents where a child is struck by a bus. When this happens, it's always tragic. The 3 main danger zones are immediately in front of the bus, the passenger side of the bus, and behind the bus. Children should never enter a danger zone. Of course, we work very hard to teach them this important principle from a very early age, but ultimately, you are the one responsible. You have to be vigilant to ensure that they don't enter a danger zone. Before we discuss ways you can keep kids out of the danger zones, let's discuss why they go there in the first place. Obviously, the children have to get on and off the bus. And if they line up like soldiers, stepping on and off in a straight path, we'd have no problems. But it isn't always that simple. Let's face it, children are not necessarily careless, but they are carefree. They're busy living their lives, interacting with other children, trying to get their needs met, and they don't always think about their own safety, and that's where we come in. According to my investigations, there are a number of reasons why a child might end up in a danger zone. Let's see, here we are. Dropping something and trying to retrieve it. Trying to take a shortcut by walking right in front of the bus, trying to cut between parked buses, especially at the school pickup point, running after the bus or trying to hit the side of the bus with their hand, especially when they're late, and having some type of interaction with a child who is still on the bus, hanging on the back bumper and trying to go for a ride with a skateboard or just sliding along an icy street. Oh, and here's another one. Sometimes a child will walk away from the bus in one direction or another and then come back to the bus. This can be a very dangerous situation, and especially if you haven't cleared your mirrors just before pulling away. Always be aware of what's going on around your bus, but pay particular attention to the 3 danger zones. They are immediately in front of the bus, the passenger side, and behind the bus. You see, danger zones are really only a danger immediately before during, or after the kids are getting on or off the bus. That's when they're the most vulnerable. Now, over the years, I've interviewed a lot of drivers on ways that they prevent children from entering danger zones. And I've compiled a list. Let's see. I'm sure you'll find this useful. Number one, on each of your routes, begin each school year with a candid discussion with the children about danger zones. Number two, when children have to cross the street, instruct them to walk 10 big steps ahead of the bus before turning to cross. That's good to remember, even if you have a crossing gate. Oh, here's another follow-up to that one. Give them the okay signal when it's safe to cross and enforce its use. Yes. Never tolerate any horseplay in or around the stairwell or when children are getting on or off the bus. Here's an interesting one. Watch for strings hanging off jackets and backpacks and explain to the children how dangerous they are and ask them to have their parents cut them off. Let's see. Number 6, instruct children to walk at least 10 feet straight away from the bus when exiting. Once they're 10 feet away, they can turn in the direction they wish to go. Here's a really important one. When unloading, watch to see which direction the children are heading before you move the bus. Count the kids as they get off the bus, then count them again when they're away from the bus to make sure that they're safely away from the danger zones. In other words, count the kids away, know where they are, and clear your mirrors immediately before you move. Number 9, instruct the children to wait away from the curb and not to approach the bus until it comes to a complete stop and you open the door. Children should walk, not run to the bus when they are boarding. And they shouldn't push or shove one another. Instruct the children to take their seats after boarding the bus and don't move the vehicle until everyone is seated. Likewise, children should stay seated until the bus comes to a complete stop before leaving the bus. Number 13, when parked at a school or any place where there's more than one school bus, you should park the buses bumper to bumper. That way the children can't walk between vehicles or wander into the danger zones or the street. Well, I guess you can see by the length of this list how important these suggestions are when it comes to keeping your passengers safe from danger zones.
Oh, sorry, guys. Let's go try this.
Before we discuss ways you can keep kids out of the danger zones, let's discuss know where they are
We did that.
and danger zones and how we can prevent them from being there. Now, let's turn our attention to how we can make sure the danger zones are clear before we ever move the bus. First of all, count the kids away. Next, know where they are. And finally, clear your mirrors immediately before you move. Pay attention and be familiar with the pickup and drop-off points and know how many children are usually there. Become familiar with which children must cross over the street. As children exit the bus, count them away. Then, when they're away from the bus, count them again. Never back the bus when children are nearby. As you approach a pickup point, scan the entire area and take note of where the children are. Be especially careful when there appears to be horseplay, pushing or shoving, or when the children aren't in the same place. Check your mirrors. Be on the lookout for cars who may try to pass you on the left or the right, even though they're supposed to stop. Look at oncoming traffic as well. Activate your ambers, bring the vehicle to a complete stop, turn on the warning lights, and if so equipped, make sure the stop arm and the crossing gate are fully extended. Check the mirrors again for traffic before you open the door. Signal to the children when it's safe to board. Never tolerate pushing, shoving, or running while the children are getting on or off the bus.
Let's go back to our PowerPoint here. Okay. Slideshow. Okay. Okay, so here we are back at our danger zones information sheet. We watched the video. So safety is no accident. All right, we'll go on to fall driving. Professional drivers immediately recognize adverse conditions and adjust their driving accordingly. This almost always means slow down and leave more room. Our goal is to remove or reduce risk. When you know you need a longer distance to stop in rain, snow, or ice, slow down and create this room. Adverse weather does not create accidents. The drivers do by not allowing for the conditions. All right, so there is going to be a link for some fall driving tips that will be on the team safety meeting email. Read the tips from the link and then answer the questions on the fall driving quiz. All right, and that's going to be the fall driving quiz there. All right, ice and snow, take it slow. All right, awesome team, you rock. Go Team Campo.